Hello friends, how are you doing? My drone decided to come on when we started. So how are you guys doing today? Welcome to our live stream. Today we are going to talk about a few things, and we're going to have some Pellegrino instead of having some food because I actually had an earlier breakfast and I'm not hungry yet. So we're gonna have some Pellegrino. I wanted to play you just something. I got a new book that's very interesting that I had. Hi Sylvia, I'm doing good. How are you doing? I wanted to show you guys this new book that I got. Maybe we can flip through it together a little bit. We're gonna talk about the ancient Greeks, continuing reading that article. Hey Krister, nice to see you too. And I've gotten all this music I wanted to show you. I was away last week and I went shopping for new music for the studio and for everybody. And I also wanted to talk to you about, those feelings we get sometimes when we don't really feel good enough. It was so weird this morning. I woke up and I was feeling, it's probably, for me, sometimes this happens when when I eat something that doesn't really agree with me. Hello, Kevin. Thanks for being here. So I woke up this morning and it was just kind of feeling a little gross, and then I, had, my hair was dirty and everything was like, I looked like a crazy person. And then I went to do my exercises, looked on Instagram at everybody else and seeing what everybody else is doing, and, just being a human being and feeling not so great about myself, and looking at looking at Instagram and seeing everybody doing their thing, and which is so great. But you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we can just be really sensitive for whatever reason, and seeing something can just make us not really feel good enough or just feel bad about ourselves. And so I wanted to just discuss that a little bit as a music teacher, and as somebody that, like, in the music, it's been my experience, and if you're a musician you might be able to relate, but when you study music professionally, like, you have to hold yourself to this really high level, especially if you're doing like orchestral auditions and or school auditions or auditions of any kind, or even if you're not a musician and you're just doing like interviews at for work and everything. Sometimes we can get this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, why, I'm just never gonna get there, I'm not good enough, and everyone else is doing so much better than I am. And at some point I think we just have to, like, take that thought and put it over here, put it to the side, and just keep putting one foot forward in front of the other, and to not let what everyone else is doing bother us. And actually it's so great to see everyone else doing well, and it should give you hope that you can also do well too. If you see someone succeed, it means that you can succeed too. And I just wanted to share a little bit about when I was first starting out doing what I'm doing, being a music teacher. It's kind of it's like going out into the unknown, and when you're a music teacher you feel like you have to know everything, and if you feel bad if you don't really communicate something clearly, or if you say something the wrong way and you see that it maybe hurts someone's feelings that you're working with. You never want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's hard sometimes to just take the first step to just put yourself out there and to work with the world. And I think one of the things that has really helped me to just keep going and just not be not be worried about not being the best violist in the world, not being the best violinist in the world. It's really not about being the best. It's just about sharing your experience of music, sharing your love of music, and sharing how to do things with others that connect with you for whatever reason, or they like the fact that you teach music and they want to learn, or whatever it is. If you're a personal trainer, or if you're like an artist, or if you're just anybody, just if you're a human, if you're just a human, I think you just have to kind of keep doing your own personal best. And if you can every day just kind of align yourself with trying to do your best and putting one foot forward, not being perfect, but just trying and making an effort and trying to do something to make some kind of progress, I think that you can rest on that knowledge that you're actually just trying to do your best, and that's all you can ever really do. And especially I think if you're an artist or if you're a musician, sometimes when I know that especially as a musician, it can be really scary to just put a recording of yourself out in the world and be like, this is, me playing something, because then the whole world can criticize it and they can find all the things that are wrong with it, and everybody's going to have an opinion and try to tear you down. But if you can just kind of try not to take everything, try not to let the world affect you what you've done. You did that, and then it's there, and people can love it or they can hate it, and that's it. And I think that's also the same kind of thing with YouTube videos. So if you guys are nervous about making YouTube videos or whatever it is, or even just like posting things on Instagram, just post it and then don't think about it. And when you get lovely comments, just reply and send love to all of the people that follow you. And for the people that leave mean comments, you can also send them love too, and you can either just delete it and send them love, or you can be your customer service part of yourself and deal with the person in a more kind way, maybe kind and considerate way. So I don't know, we might revisit this subject in a little bit, but I wanted to play something for you. First of all, we need to enjoy a lovely, refreshing bit of Pellegrino. Oh, you know what? I forgot the most important thing. The most important thing about when you're not feeling good enough is to remember that you're actually part of the universe. You are a part of something that's greater than you, and you were created, and you're here, and you could just have to align yourself with spirit. Just align yourself with whatever you call to be, with whatever you call to be God. I think that having some kind of spiritual nourishment and aligning yourself with that, whatever you think that is, divine love, divine spirit, all of that kind of thing. Hello, Michael. It kind of gives you this like lightning rod to like become a match to. It's almost like a tuning fork. Like when you tune your instrument, you're trying to tune to the A at whatever frequency you tune to, 440, 441, whatever it is. You're trying to tune your instrument to that. And so as a human being, I think sometimes we also need to tune ourselves to something that's, beyond ourselves. And that's a huge, huge, huge part of being able to have the courage to do anything, I think, is to just, or especially when you're not really good enough about yourself, just be flat. To just remember that you're a part of something that's beautiful, that you're a special being that's experiencing this life, and your voice matters, and you as an individual matter as well. So I actually have a poem to read you. This is one of the poems we were reading in lessons this week, and this is one that I just have loved my entire life. I used to be, and I mean, hopefully I've grown out of this, but I used to be just extremely, extremely self-conscious. And growing up as a child, I was just an ugly duckling, really ugly duckling. And I also really had a lot of anxiety about school. I never wanted to go to school. I was just always wanting to be at home. I never wanted to leave my mom's side. I was just very, very insecure child. And I don't know, I think it must have been my mom that read this poem to me. It's called Desiderata. Desiderata. It was written in 1927 by Max Ehrmann. At the bottom there, 1927, Max Ehrmann. And I just wanted to read this to you. This is such a comforting poem, especially in our world today. It's a bit crazy out there, isn't it? So, Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. This is what we were talking about. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and just disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit. This is really important. That's kind of what we were talking about. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. And it's called Desiderata, and it was written in 1927 by Max Ehrmann. So, I don't know, I just wanted to share that with you because I know that we're all going through lots of stuff, and we're all online so much in the world today, and that's wonderful. But just if you feel that little twinge of feeling bad about yourself for whatever reason, if you see something that you compare yourself with somebody else, or you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and all of that, it's okay to feel that. It's part of being human, and you just have to nourish your spirit, nourish your soul, remember who you are and what you're a part of, and like tune yourself, right? Keep yourself in tune, and then just try to go about your day doing the best that you can, just putting one foot forward in front of the other. And earlier this week, I was listening to, I love the channel Spirit Channel. I listen to Spirit Channel, Psychic Bob all the time. He's my favorite person, one of my favorite people. But he has these lovely spiritual classes. He does like a little video. He used to do them like once a week, where he talks about, I don't know if you know Sylvia Brown. By the way, I am really fascinated in I'm just really fascinated in all religions and spirituality in general. I've always been interested in that. So, I'm like currently reading all about the mythology of ancient Britain. I've read the Bible many times when I was little. I have like delved into Wicca, I've delved into magic and all of this kind of thing. So I'm just a person that's interested in just spirituality in general and what people think about it and how they cope with being a human. So anyway, he's talking. He takes basically a little section from Sylvia Browne's um, mystical. I think it's just like mystical traveler book. I'm not really sure what it's called, honestly. But in one of the classes, he was talking about leaving when you're walking, to imagine that you're leaving little golden footsteps behind that are kind of like a healing energy for other people. And that might sound totally out there, but you can also, and like he also talked about leaving like columns of light that are just healing columns of light using your imagination. And we need to leave those for ourselves too, you know? So you can even imagine that there's like a great big rod going from the universe through you. And it just kind of puts you in tune, and the light goes on and all the darkness kind of just, it goes away in the face of the light, you know? So anyway, I don't know what I'm babbling about anymore. We still have to enjoy some of this. I wanted to play you. I'm really interested in sound healing. I've been really interested in that for a long time, and that's why I actually bought a harp. And hopefully, my harp is being worked on at the moment. Hopefully, it's going to be home soon. But I think sound healing is really interesting, and we've been studying the ancient Greeks, and we're reading this book about not book, but this paper about the ancient Greeks. We're going to look at it today again. But the ancient Greeks are talking about how music helps us to understand beauty and to understand what is good and what's like virtuous, or no, it's not alcohol. This is just sparkling water. This is just Pellegrino sparkling water. Cheers, my dears. Cheers. And I think that music is definitely one of the ways that we can hear what sounds beautiful, and we also need to hear what sounds, like chaos sometimes too. We need to hear what sounds like uncomfortable and painful and angry. We can actually hear that for whatever reason. Like humans we have this like understanding, and language has nothing to do with it. It's just like a musical sense that we can all tell when the music sounds sad. Think of a movie where somebody dies tragically and the music is really, really sad along with that. Or if you can imagine something that's very courageous, it's the story of a hero, like the Star Wars theme. Like you can tell the feel behind it. And we can experience that not only in music, but in art. And art is like a visual, rather than like an audible, but like a visual representation of all those things too. And like literally everything that I think, I've been thinking about this a lot for, I don't even, many, many months, but especially this week. You can actually make everything in your life really beautiful. You can experience the chaotic side of things and the ugly, out of tune side of things, and then and sometimes you actually really need to see that so that you can see and understand what is beautiful as well, and what is good, and what's in tune, and what is at peace. What does it feel like to be at peace? You don't really know that unless you have experienced, being really not at peace and feeling like everything was wrong in your life, and that you were even on the complete wrong path, and all the people that in your life were just completely the wrong crowd for you to be with, and all that kind of thing. And it's just part of being a human and just trying to learn. But I think that we have these things that we study, like art and music, and I know another thing that the ancient Greeks really valued was like wrestling or some kind of physical activity, because you can also see like that you have to strive towards something, like you're aligning yourself with a direction and you have a goal, and seeing the result of continuing that through is just like a beautiful thing. And it can give your spirit strength as well to just to exercise daily, or to keep your home clean, or to study music and try to play beautifully and try to be in tune, or to do your work in a beautiful way, to write like to actually write beautifully. And I just think that we have a weird understanding of what beauty is sometimes, because we can look at Instagram and see like the sexualized version of beauty, which is definitely one part of, I guess, beauty. But it's really not what I think about when I think about what beauty is. I think of something that's really beautiful is gonna make me feel good. I'm gonna feel good. I'm gonna appreciate looking at it. Like when I go out into nature and you can see a beautiful tree, it's you're like hit by, oh my gosh, this is like a really old, like 200 maybe more old year tree. It's like been here, it has this thick bark, it's beautiful, it's got the vines wrapping around it, the leaves are all full, the wind is blowing through it, there's moss, you know, somewhere, there's little bugs crawling on it, and like all the things that you can see that just make that so beautiful. And that's like one moment in time as well to experience. It's not, if you come back there tomorrow, it's going to look the same, but it's going to be a little bit different too. So I think that being on the beautiful path is a something that can also bring us peace and can help us to discern like what we want in our life as well, and how we treat others. If you are trying to, you know, be a beautiful, be on this beautiful path, and you can hear what's beautiful, you have an opinion of what you see that's beautiful, and everybody's view is different, right? All of the ways that we can experience beauty, then the way that you treat others too, you might have like a little bit more strength to treat others in a beautiful way too. So, and of course we're humans, so we're definitely imperfect and perfect and ugly and beautiful, and we're very, like, from day to day we can completely change. So, and it's just okay, but just kind of becoming more in tune, like you're tuning your instrument, I think is just really fabulous. So let's finally have some of this. And I'm wearing these AirPods. Do you like these AirPods? Can you hear me any better at all with these things? It's kind of weird because I'm sounding muted to myself, so I don't know if I'm screaming at you or what. But anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on that? What do you think about beauty? When you think of beauty, do you think of like the sexualized version of beauty, of materialism, or do you think of what is beautiful to you, you know? Okay, good. I'm not screaming at you. And it's just, I feel like, I mean, I am not in school anymore, so I don't know, and honestly have no idea how I survived going to school, because it was just really hard for me. I think I spent a lot of time when I was in school just mentally, my body was there, but my mental state was just floating off, trying to not be, you know, at school. So, but anyway, I wanted to play you guys something. So let me grab my instrument, and I'm gonna put a cello drone on. Hopefully my iPad can survive a little bit longer. One of the things that is so fun after studying scales, when, you know, this Wednesday I put out a video about scales. We were doing the C scale, the A minor scales. One of the fabulous things to do with scales is to just have a drone and let those notes of the scale bring you into tune. So I'm gonna just show you what I mean by that. Let me just grab my instrument real quick. Okay, today we have viola. Yeah. Well, let's see. Can you hear this drone? That's just the question. Beauty will save the world. I love that. I don't know where this isn't working. Battery 70%. A moment to figure this out. I think it's trying to come through my iPhone, but not working. Uno momento. Uno momento. Let's see. Settings. And Bluetooth. And Bose. There we go.
Connected to Enver's iPhone and
There
Enver's
we
iPad.
go. So I am going to put a G cello drone on. For me, the note G is just a really lovely sounding note. It's like a comfortable sounding note. And I'm going to be basically using the notes of the G scale to play over the drone. And I just want you to notice um, encountering dissonance and encountering like the beauty of the harmony and encountering like when I line up with the one, which would be G, hearing what that sounds like. So let's see if this works. Can you guys hear the drone there? This is the third that I'm playing right here. And when you hear the third, a major third, it sounds like the sun comes out. Here's the seventh, very dissonant. But it's right next to the resolution on the one. This like really dissonant note here is just so close to being in tune, which is so kind of cool to think about. Here's the third, seven, one. So if I was to kind of, my iPad's going to run out of charge soon, but if I was to change that into G minor, let's hear what that sounds like just by tweaking a couple notes there. So I'll do G harmonic minor. There's a little bit more like kind of color in this one. This is a minor third. Very different from the other one. Very different kind of sound, just kind of hearing the collection of notes slightly different, but with the same drone. The first one I played was the G major notes. The second one was the G minor note, G harmonic minor notes. And it can just really change the feel of everything. But you know what? You really need the dissonances in there to make it to make it really sound special too. Um, it's just so neat to study scales. I'm like in love with scales at the moment, and I'm really excited to be creating the series on scales for you. It's all on Patreon. We're just going through, slowly going through that on Patreon. Although I might publish one other scales video, G major and E minor, in a few weeks after I share the play along scales. You'll see that's coming out on Wednesday. There's going to be a play along C major scale with me. So thank you, Spock. It's so nice to see you. Well, let me pop this down, and then we're going to get into our ancient Greek paper that we're reading through. So let me pop this down. All right. So I need to plug this in because it's going to die. Batteries are almost done with this one. Okay. So let's see here. Let me find this little article. Oops, it's still not working. Let me just do this. And look, this is fabulous, this little battery pack. Amazing. Helps me teach all day. All right, so we are, you know what, I saved it on here. Okay, there we go. So we're reading this article called Plato and Aristotle on the Ends of Music, and it's by Mary B. Schoen Nazaro. It's a really interesting article. Can you guys see me okay? There we go. And I think we are on page 8. And the reason why we're reading this article is because we're going back to the very beginning that we have of, people writing about music and the effects of music, because I think it's so important to have like a context and to have a fundamental like baseline of understanding, and it just takes a long time. That's why we read music history. That's why we're reading this. So let's see. We're on page 8. Aristotle says that by learning to play an instrument or to sing more or less well, an individual is assured of being able to partake of the universal delights of music at will. This alone is a good reason for having and learning music because, as Aristotle points out, music has a natural sweetness. Aristotle says that from this natural delight in music comes another benefit, influencing character. As he points out, experience shows that music influences character because people are stirred up by some kinds of music. In an earlier passage, Aristotle indicates how music can influence someone's character for the better. There he states that music's ability to conduce to virtue is founded on 2 things: its ability to form our minds, that is, to move us, and its ability to habituate us to true pleasures. In saying that music moves us, Aristotle implies that music has another end besides the 3 already explicitly stated. The first point to consider when trying to understand how music disposes someone towards virtue or vice is that music moves us or imitates emotion. Aristotle says that experience shows us that when listening to music, our souls undergo a change. For him, rhythms and melodies supply imitations which hardly fall short of the actual affections. In the Problemata, I guess that's one of his writings, he explains that music is very similar to the emotions because both are movements. The musical rhythm moves faster and slower, and the melody moves up and down. Not only is music itself a movement on the sense level, but as Aristotle indicates, it is also a principle of the other movements. Music is a movement which moves us. Isn't that interesting? Music is a movement which moves us. And it's so interesting because it's just a vibration, it's not like somebody's gonna music's not gonna come up to you and be like, whack. It's just gonna make you go back and forth, just, tapping your foot or even making you get up and dance, Isn't that so interesting? I don't know how long this is gonna last. This is supposed to be charging. I thought you were going to be charging. 1 second. Okay. Not sure why it's not
Working. I just said that you were awesome, you little battery pack. Now you're not working. Well, whatever. We'll just read as long as we can. So, okay. Music is a movement which moves us. In the De Anima, Aristotle says that the emotions are movements. They are movements of man, a composite. He warns us that they are not movements of the soul alone, but rather of a man with a soul. Further on in the same treatise, Aristotle indicates that the emotions are principles of movement as well as movements themselves. Emotions, both men and brutes on the sense level. According to Aristotle, music imitates the emotions because, like the emotions, it is a principle of movement on the sense level. He describes how different kinds of music move us in different ways according to the emotion imitated. I guess this is a little excerpt from Aristotle. The musical modes differ essentially from one another, and those who hear them are differently affected by each. Some of them make men sad and grave, like the so-called Mixolydian. Others enfeeble the mind, like the relaxed modes. Another again produces a moderate and settled temper, which appears to be the peculiar effect of the Dorian mode. The Phrygian inspires enthusiasm. The same principles apply to rhythms. Some have a character of rest, others of motion, and of these latter again, some have a more vulgar, others a nobler movement. That is so interesting. You know what? I have to just show you. I might just read that again because that's like that's literally what we're studying. This book right here, book one here of the Leopold Hour series. I right now, because I started my studio pretty much at the same time with this book, we're all basically mostly for this one. We're using kind of book one and two together, but we're around the page 36, which is the exercises for varied rhythms here. And it says minuet, march, spirited march, slow waltz, animated march, and a barcarolle. And these are all open strings. And it's just neat to have the opportunity to try to convey the rhythms that are on the page in the right style that they are requesting. Right. So imagine that you're gonna play this rhythm here, number two, in a march. So if you just march, back and forth like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very like commanding, rigid kind of not rigid maybe, but it's just, predictable. It's maybe got a little energy in it. It's not gonna put you to sleep, right? If you walk around like this, you march, lifting your, knees up as far as you can. That's like literally what I think what Aristotle is talking about right here is that certain rhythms as well, they can make us move in a certain way, and they can also help us. They can change our psychological state. It seems like too, which is so interesting. So anyway, we're just kind of going through rhythms. I mean, this is for varied rhythms. This is the first time we've actually got to put on our artistic hat in this book and try to play anything kind of beyond just, counting eighth notes and 16th notes and whatnot. Page 36, we start to get to interpret what's on the page a little bit more artistically, trying to play like a minuet or a waltz or a march or whatnot. So let me just read this again. So, according to Aristotle, music imitates the emotions because, like the emotions, it is a principle of movement on the sense level. He describes how different kinds of music move us in different ways according to the emotion imitated. And this is a quote from him. The musical modes differ. He's talking about harmony here. He's not talking about rhythm. The musical modes differ essentially from one another. And like when I was playing the G major scale versus the G harmonic minor scale, those, like we could call them the musical modes, they completely sound different. So the major scale sounded maybe more at peace, full of courage, maybe hopeful, Whereas the harmonic minor version of that improvisation was a very, very different kind of sound. So the musical modes differ essentially from one another, and those who hear them are differently affected by each. Some of them make men sad and grave, like the so-called mixolydian. Others enfeeble the mind, like the relaxed modes. Another enfeeble the mind, interesting, like the relaxed modes. Another again produces a moderate and settled temperature, a moderate and settled temper, which appears to be the peculiar effect of the Dorian mode. And that's so interesting because a lot of medieval music and a lot of folk music is in the Dorian mode, and it does sound very grounding. It sounds, by the end of that, you feel moderate and, a settled kind of psychological state. The Phrygian inspires enthusiasm. The same principles apply to rhythms. Some have a character of rest, others of motion, and of these latter again, some have a more vulgar, others a nobler movement. So you could imagine or bum 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 or bum bum ba bum bum ba bum. They all have like a different kind of feel. So let's see. We have 4% on this little battery here. Music sets up a proportion between its own movement and that of the listener. Through music, a harmony arises between the sound and the soul of the listener, and he or she is moved. This movement is so close to our own emotional movement that Aristotle points out some people identify music and the soul. From what Aristotle says about the power of music to move the listener in harmony with itself, it follows that the skillful musician will be able to reproduce almost any emotion so that it can be felt and recognized by the listener. I'm going to read that again. From what Aristotle says about the power of music to move the listener in harmony with itself, it follows that the skillful musician will be able to reproduce any emotion so that it can be felt and recognized by the listener. He will be able to make him melt with tenderness or bristle with rage. Even the most hardened heart will reverberate if the right string is plucked. This is what imitating emotion entails. And you know what? Right there, they didn't talk about, being able to play perfectly in tune or to play without a scratchy sound or, to play forte versus piano or, whatever. um, it's important that we have good techniques so that we can actually have the ability to do, to create these things like emotions, to make things sound sad and make things sound happy or whatever. But that's not the ultimate thing, like to have like perfect technique and to be the flashiest, bestest ever, whatever. It's not really, that's not what the that's not what the most skillful musician will be able to do. The most skillful musician, it says here, will be able to reproduce any emotion that can be felt and recognized by the listener. And I think that's why some of the most simple things really, really affect us, like I don't know if you've ever heard Lady Gaga just sit down and play at the piano without any of the crazy like effects at all. She's got this beautiful voice and just the simplicity of the piano. I mean, any like rock star, I guess, will be able to do that, and it's just really, really magical. And we can also do that too. We, in our everyday, in our voice, in our own voice, and the way that we act, we are creating emotions, and we can make people feel a certain way too. So you have the capacity to do that as a person, and you can also do that on your instrument too. So you already got that inner artist. Just make sure that you're, you know, wielding it correctly. It's powerful, it's a powerful skill. So I think that my phone is going to run out of batteries and my iPad is going to run out of batteries. So we will have to save the rest of that for another day. I'm like upset with all my technology because it's supposed to be working. It's supposed to charge things. Let's see. Hopefully that lasts a little bit longer because I did want to show you some of the books that I picked up while I was away. So right now we are sitting next to a pile of books. And let me show you some of the things that I have here for violin, and then I'll show you for viola too. So this is actually a in addition to the hour books, you know that I love the hour books. Book 1 and 2 are excellent to work together. Like I work simultaneously with book 1 and 2 because book 1 is all the open strings, rhythms, control, all of that. And then book 2 is adding the left hand to that. Wonderful. It also has the scale routines in here as well. But this is an excellent book of scales. So there's scales for young violinists, and then there's scales for advanced violinists. Same thing for viola. Scales for young violists and scales for advanced violists. But it gives you like a little chart at the beginning so that you can see the scales that you have completed and all the different things that go along with that. And there's a page of just bowings and rhythmic variations. So basically you can just plug these bowings into the scale that you're studying for the week. So let me see. Where's G? Where's C? Let me see. It's interesting. It starts with G. So the first scale that they have, I guess, is G. And then you can go back. So up here at the top is the G scale. And then you can go back and you can plug in the bowings that you want for that. And then it even has shifts as well to help you practice shifting. And then you've got your scales, and then you have double stops as well over here, which is neat. First position double stops, octaves, thirds, sixths. First to third position double stops, octaves, thirds, sixths. Harmonics as well over here. And then it goes to a new key. So this is the next one, the A. So it's really, really comprehensive. I would recommend that you start here, and then once you've completed this, go to the, advanced scale book, because this is gotta have the first step, and then then go to the more advanced. So I think essential elements is actually a good one if you're working with, little ones, or if even if you're not a little one, but you really need lots and lots of help reading, understanding music. It even has the note names and all of that kind of thing. It shows you how to hold everything. It has lots of pictures and how to, hold stuff. So even like little bow hand exercises, it's just wonderful. And I like to use this as a kind of warm up. So just like some really simple things to get us in violin mode. So we'll spend like 5 or 10 minutes in here, and then go to the hour books 1 and 2, go through the scales, and then get to some fun pieces to play. And granted, every lesson is sometimes a little bit different. Sometimes it's just, let's just have fun reading through and exploring music. And then most of the time it's like, let's spend half of the lesson doing this kind of thing, get your technique down. And then the other half of the lesson is exploring music and then working on what we're working on. So for the viola, let me show you this. Now, the hour books aren't, made for the viola. They don't have a viola transcription of the hour book, sadly. So I found this book. This is really neat. They have this for violin too, warming up for viola book 1. There's 2 books that I know of. There might be 3. But this is the one for the viola. The one for violin is probably coming today. I ordered it for violin as well. But I just love it. It kind of gives you a few keys to get comfortable in. And then there's a daily exercise and then a little song to go with it. And they get harder and harder, as you progress through the key. So for example, here's the warm-up, the daily exercise. This is the first one in the book. Nice and easy. It might look hard, but actually if you slow it down or just do a small section, it's quite easy. You can make it harder or fast, depending on your speed. And then there's a little song that goes with it. It's in the same key and it's a little bit different rhythms to juggle as well. And all the kinds of hand patterns and things that you've encountered in the exercise. So that's a good one. Essential elements for viola. Let's see. Also book 2. Double stops for viola and also violin. And if you were curious of seeing what the advanced scales look like, this is the viola one. It's quite hard. Like this is really, really, really hard. It goes through much more advanced kinds of rhythms and bowings, and I wouldn't recommend that you start with this one, even if you are kind of more advanced. Like just go through the easier one first, get that all done and out of the way, and then tackle this. And just know that when you're going through these kinds of scales, you're not supposed to just sit. I mean, at some point you might be able to just sit down and do absolutely everything in 30 minutes. But when you're first learning this, just do like one tiny thing. Like I would just work on the scale and then maybe add a bowing or two and add a rhythm or two. And then try doing some of the thirds, the octaves, the sixths, and some arpeggios. That's already a lot, isn't it? So I'm just looking to see. My piles have gotten a little bit confused. This is all repertoire. There's some repertoire books that should be over here that are in this pile. So, as a teacher, I like to just kind of explore a lot. I like to have a method book to go through with technique, but it's been a while since I've had like a method book of just repertoire to take everybody through, because I get a little bit bored with the Suzuki things, and I know that they're great, but they also aren't necessarily the best like progressions, because sometimes they can, you'll be completely fine on like number 6, and then turn the page to number 7 and it's like way advanced, like there's some kind of spiccato thing to do, or there's like some shifts to do, and all of a sudden it's just, there's no like stepping stone in between. So I think that you need to work with a few different, I forgot to show you the Blessed Chaudière book for violin and viola. But I think that it's worthwhile to have a few books to pull repertoire from, and to not just focus on Suzuki, because for whatever reason, a lot of people just feel like they just have to work on Suzuki only. And that's not necessarily the case. And it's also not a very rich way to experience music. Like music is beyond the Suzuki method. So some of the things that I'm using to expand out with that are, let me see where to start. I think it's fun to have, this is for viola, by the way. So it's fun to have just some little classical tunes to read through. This comes for violin and viola. And they're just easy to read. Nice and big. There's chords as well with it, so you can, accompany on the piano if you want. Just fun pieces to explore, get comfortable reading things. There's another one. This is also for violin, first repertoire for violin. This is first repertoire for viola. And you guys, I have an Amazon like store with all of this stuff here, all of the things that I've recently discovered and that I use in lessons. So if you want to just find these, this has piano accompaniment too, which is really nice. If you just want a link to everything, I will put that below. Easy things at the beginning. This is the very last piece, kind of more complicated. But you can use these repertoire books that are kind of on the easier side to help you with your expression and expressing emotion, like the ancient Greeks tell you that you should be able to, convey something emotionally. So, for example, you've got like moderato, allegretto, allegro, con moto. So all these different kind of tempo indications and feeling indications, vigoroso, grazioso. My Italian is so terrible. And like polkas and little dances and songs and just all these, this Papageno song from Mozart's Magic Flute. da da dun dun da 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 dun 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 da da dun da dun da dun dun da. It's so cute. I just love this one, and it has piano with it, so that's fun. There's also this great book called Fun with the Viola. There's a lot of folk music in this one. This one probably is also made for violin, but this is just so easy to sight read. You know, you can just have a little exploratory time and just sight read something from some of these books. It's just fabulous. It's so fun. And if you wanted something that's a little bit more challenging, the Solos for Young Violinists or Violists book one is basically levels 1 through 3 for Suzuki, in my opinion. So this is, much more advanced. It's going to start out with a couple easy ones, like Suzuki book one-ish stuff, although it's going to be in keys that you haven't experienced in Suzuki book one. So like some flats and more sharps or less sharps or whatever. So, and then the couple pieces from like Suzuki book 2 level and then Suzuki book 3, and it's got some shifts. It even has some concertinos and little pieces that are several movements long, which is nice. So yeah, I wanted to just show you. I could like stay here for 30 minutes and tell you all about these new books that I've got, but I just think it's fun to explore, and I think that it is, if you are a teacher and you're watching this, um, I would just encourage you to pick up a few, if you haven't already, like just pick up a few books that you can have your students just sight read things through as part of the lesson and just explore music together. And you can talk about rhythms and expression and the ancient Greeks, telling you to try to, what is the emotion? Can you convey the emotion? If you were to close your eyes and listen to it, does it sound like you're conveying that emotion correctly? Or if it's a march, are you making me feel like I can march along with it? If it's a dance, can I, stay with the beat with it? Things like that. So and then you can have the repertoire that you're trying to work on, like things from Suzuki or the solos book or whatever it is. So but basically just have fun with it. Just have fun. And at literally at any level that you're at, you can always, just you're going to encounter hard things along the way, but you can make them easier too. You can just do a small section for a second, not for a second, but you can just do a small section, for example, and then try to like work on the emotion and the creativity behind that too. So it's not like you have to sit down and play through the whole song and try to do it. You could just actually take a couple measures and see, here's a challenge. Can you make this sound like it's, like the composer said at the top? So anyways, you guys, I like barely drink any of my Pellegrino. We should have another sip. And you know what? I was thinking of eventually doing some more interesting things on Patreon. Um, I think it's going to be a while before I'm teaching in person again, honestly. And I teach a lot of people that are professionals that are, busy with their lives. And I teach a lot of retired people as well and children that are busy with everything. So online lessons just work so well. You can do them from vacation even, or if I went on vacation, I could, teach some from vacation. But um, the thing that is missing is the kind of connection, like the community connection. I used to do studio nights and, have opportunities for us to play for each other. And so I was thinking of using Patreon as a platform to do like basically like a group lesson. So I'm considering having like a weekly or bi-weekly. I don't think I would do it monthly, possibly monthly. I just feel like having a little group lesson, every week, or I guess well, I'll figure out what the frequency is. But anyway, I think having a group lesson would be a fun thing to do, and you wouldn't necessarily even have to be seen or heard at all. I would just be, guiding the lesson, and then there would be, however many people there at the group lesson too. And you just would put your headphones in, have some like, little AirPods or, whatever things that you use, and just play along with me. And we can even play duets and we can play through fun things together. So that's the thing that I'm kind of considering adding on Patreon as another level. Is just basically like a group lesson tier. And there would be a like repertoire list that I would have you would have to get in order to really participate with it, because I can't send you scans of things. But we would be going through some of the things that we're basically learning in lessons. So it'd be like a nice addition to lessons if you have lessons already, and then to be able to just play along with a group, or to just have a group class and practice, playing along would be kind of a fun thing, I think. So check out Patreon. It's just patreon.com/violin viola masterclass. At the moment, it's only $1 to subscribe. That's the only tier that I have, and it gives you access to all of the, teaching lesson videos that I have that are on there. And yeah, so but if you're there, then you'll get updates about what's like going on, and if I've added something fun. So yeah, I think that is about it, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this babbling moment of whatever it was that we talked about. And oh my gosh, I have to tell you another thing. Here's the food thing. The other day, I made a blueberry cherry cobbler with frozen blueberries and frozen cherries. And having the frozen cherries it's a crumble, sorry, blueberry crumble. Thank you so much, Krister. But adding frozen cherries to it, it was so good. Oh my God. So if I remember, I will try to link the recipe that I used for the blueberry crumble, but just remember, add like a bag of frozen cherries to that, and it is to die for. It's so good. So with that, stay beautiful, stay on the beautiful path, and I will see you next week, okay? Lots of love, you guys. Thank you for being here, and thank you for reaching out for lessons too. I'm so booked right now that I've had to raise my lesson rate a lot because I have a hard time turning people away. So please subscribe to Patreon so that we can stay connected there, and you can, maybe do the group classes and things like that. I love you guys so much, and I'm just so happy that we're here together. I look forward to our live streams every week. So anyways, see you then. Bye.